Now, there was a rumor around this time that there was a $1 million bounty on your head.
$1 million? Let that number really sink in, because this time it's not about rap deals, luxury cars, diamond chains, or sold-out shows. It's about a human life. And for years, people in the streets have whispered about it. Blogs hinted at it, fans argued non-stop, but everything stayed in the shadows until now. Because now the feds are talking, and when the feds talk, they don't come with opinions. They come with paperwork, receipts, timestamps, and evidence. Things like text messages that were never meant to be read out loud. Flight records showing who went where and when. Credit card charges that tell a story money can't hide. Phone location data that places people exactly where they said they weren't. And under this kind of pressure, loyalty starts cracking, people start folding. And according to federal prosecutors, some individuals from inside the circle allegedly decided to cooperate, not outsiders, not enemies, but people who were once close, people who knew the moves, the conversations, the planning. And that's why you really need to listen close to this breakdown. Because what we're getting into right now is some of the heaviest and most shocking material to ever surface from the rap game. And hip-hop history has moments that don't just go viral and disappear, but permanently shift everything that comes after. Moments that change careers, lives, and entire narratives. And what happened on the night of November 6, 2020 outside the Monaco Hookah Lounge in Atlanta, Georgia was one of those moments that split time into before and after. Because that night didn't just end the life of King Von, born Davon Daquan Bennett. It kicked off a chain reaction that would stretch across years, cities, and federal courtrooms, a situation that began as a physical altercation. Words exchanged, egos clashing, bodies moving closer, and within seconds escalated into a deadly shootout involving multiple people from both camps. Gunfire erupting in a crowded area, people running in panic, sirens screaming through the night. And by the time the chaos settled, King Von was critically wounded, rushed to the hospital, and later pronounced dead, sending shockwaves through the hip-hop world as fans, artists, and media struggled to process how fast everything had gone wrong. But while social media was flooded with rip posts, emotional reactions, and speculation, law enforcement was already shifting into long game mode. Because federal cases are not built overnight, they're built slowly and patiently. And according to prosecutors, that night was not viewed as the end of the story, but the starting point, the moment that set larger events in motion. And as time passed, investigators allegedly began connecting dots that went far beyond that parking lot, analyzing communication patterns, tracking movements, following money trails, mapping relationships. And then in January 2026, federal court documents surfaced that changed the entire conversation. Because in those filings, prosecutors alleged that after the events of that night, a $1 million bounty was placed on Quando Rondo as retaliation. Not internet gossip, not street rumors, but an allegation written into official federal paperwork. And a number like $1 million suggests something deeper than emotion. It suggests planning, intent, and organization. And to understand how it reached that level, you have to understand how retaliation cases are viewed by federal authorities, because they look for structure. They look for coordination. They look for who talked to who paid for what, who traveled where. And prosecutors claim they uncovered patterns that point to deliberate actions, alleging that money moved in ways meant to avoid detection. Flights were booked that lined up with key dates. Credit cards were used in places that formed timelines. Phones communicated in ways that made sense only when viewed together. And what adds even more weight to this case is the alleged involvement of cooperating witnesses. People who once moved in silence but later decided to talk, because when federal pressure hits, fear sets in, reality hits, and survival instincts take over. And history shows that not everyone is built to face decades behind bars. So people start telling stories that the streets...
Alright, let me get to the bottom.
Listen.
The whole situation that happened
Listen, man,
with Quando.
How we live and how we go by our and I'm speaking for the whole Chicago. You ain't there. Shut the fuck up. You weren't there. So you made a diss and said something about Von. That's why I don't with you. You ain't did zero.
Never wanted to hear. And that's why the situation feels different from typical rap beefs. Because this isn't being argued on social media. It's being argued in courtrooms with evidence instead of opinions. And this is also why over the years fans noticed subtle changes. Lyrics felt heavier, interviews became more guarded. Movements felt calculated, posts were deleted. Silence became louder than words, because while the public was distracted by headlines and theories, prosecutors were quietly building their case, stacking evidence piece by piece, waiting until they believed they had something solid enough to put on the record. And the most tragic part of all of this is the ripple effect. Because King Von wasn't just a rapper to his fans, he was a storyteller. Someone who turned street experiences into music that people connected with deeply. And his death didn't just affect charts or playlists. It shattered families, traumatized communities, and left scars that are still visible years later. And now instead of seeing growth, music, and legacy, the story continues in legal documents, indictments, and allegations. And if what prosecutors are alleging is ultimately proven true, this case could stand as one of the most serious federal cases tied to modern hip-hop culture. Not because of celebrity, but because it exposes how dangerous the overlap between music, reputation, and street politics can become.
But it's music though, and they might feel like they don't have to pick a side.
No, it's not music. It's Von. Cause that's what the whole situation about.
Yeah.
So it's not music. It's Von.
And the question that keeps hanging in the air is whether any of this was worth it. Because one night, one fight, and a few seconds of chaos turned into graves, prison sentences, sealed evidence, and lives that will never return to what they once were. And as the case continues to unfold, more details may emerge. More names may surface, more narratives may shift. But one thing is already undeniable: November 6, 2020 was not just another night in Atlanta. It was a defining moment that changed the direction of multiple lives, and possibly the culture itself. And the million-dollar question now isn't just about money. It's about how far the consequences of that night will reach, and how long its shadow will continue to hang over the rap game. Listen carefully, because what you are about to hear does not sound like something that should be real. But according to federal prosecutors, every single detail in this case is backed by receipts, data, and digital proof. This is not just another rap beef story or internet rumor. This is a situation where the government claims they have stacked so much evidence that it goes far beyond what anyone imagined. Messages, money, flights, hotel bookings, rental cars, and even song lyrics are now being treated as part of one massive puzzle. And when you put all of it together, prosecutors say it tells a story that is serious, calculated, and extremely hard to explain away. According to the feds, the amount of evidence collected in this case is absolutely overwhelming. This is not a situation where they are relying on one witness or one piece of information. They claim they have layers of proof that connect people, actions, and payments in a very clear timeline. Investigators allegedly recovered iCloud messages directly from devices linked to Durk and his co-defendants. And prosecutors say these messages are some of the most damaging parts of the entire case. The messages allegedly show an understanding that whatever was being discussed needed to stay hidden and off the radar. One particular message that prosecutors highlight includes a warning that said
You don't even know.
All right, all right. Let me get to the bottom.
No, listen.
The whole situation that happened with Quando.
How we live and how we go by our and I'm speaking for the whole Chicago. You ain't there. You weren't there. So you made a diss and said something about Von. That's why I don't with you. You ain't did shit. You did zero. In reality, it just happened the way it happened. Like it didn't have nothing to do with age and none of that shit. It just
now here's something along the lines of not booking flights under real names connected to him. According to the government, this is not casual talk. They argue that this shows awareness, intent, and a conscious effort to avoid detection. From a federal perspective, messages like that are seen as signs that people knew exactly how serious the situation was and were actively trying to keep things quiet. Then there is the financial side of the case, which prosecutors say might be even harder to argue against. According to court documents, bank statements allegedly show credit cards being used to pay for flights, rental vehicles, and hotel rooms. The government claims these expenses were not random and were directly connected to individuals who traveled from Chicago to Los Angeles. Prosecutors allege that this travel was not for business or pleasure, but for the purpose of carrying out a planned hit. Every payment, every booking, and every transaction allegedly left behind a trail that investigators were able to follow step by step. The feds say they were able to
collect on it. So it's like I'm gonna stand on my 10. I'm gonna stand my ground. So it's like you could try to do what you're trying to do, but is you gonna be able to go get your money? Like, is you gonna be able to make it back home? Is you ever gonna be able to see $1 million? Like, you could try though, and that would be just your dumb choice. But it's like it ain't that sweet. It ain't just like that. But I just looked at it like, shit, that's their opinion. That what he say. That what he say. Oh well, like
trace who paid for what when the payments were made. and how those payments connected back to the larger organization. This is where prosecutors believe their case becomes extremely strong. Because money does not forget. You can deny conversations and explain away words, but financial records tell their own story. According to the government, these receipts connect the dots between Durk's circle and the attempted assassination in a way that they say is very difficult to dispute. But the allegations do not stop there. In fact, prosecutors argue that the most serious and damaging accusations involve what happened after the hit attempt did not go as planned. The intended target survived the attack and is still alive today, and on the surface, some people might think that changes everything. However, under federal law, prosecutors say it does not. Survival does not erase intent, and it does not cancel an agreement if that agreement was fulfilled in other ways. This is where federal murder for hire laws come into play, and they are some of the strictest laws in the entire legal system. Prosecutors claim that after the failed attempt, participants were allegedly rewarded with things of value. Under federal statutes, anything of value does not only mean cash. It can include money, jewelry, opportunities, public recognition, or anything that benefits the person involved. According to the government, this is a critical part of the case. The feds allege that cash payments were made after the incident. They also claim that
Struggle.
Made you want to sign King Von?
Cause he got a whole story behind him. Know what I'm saying? He from O Block.
Okay.
Know what I'm saying? That should speak for itself. Nah. But know what I'm saying? He just real. Know what I'm saying? His music, he just real. Know what I'm saying? It's my brother, twin.
That brother.
custom jewelry and grills were given as rewards. But the allegations go even further than that. Prosecutors say that some individuals were allegedly rewarded with features in music videos, shoutouts, and even mentions in song lyrics that were released after the shooting took place. According to the government, these rewards are being treated as evidence that the promised payment was delivered, which they argue completes the criminal transaction under federal law. This is one of the reasons this case is being described as so serious. Prosecutors are not only looking at traditional evidence like messages and bank records, but also at music, visuals, and lyrics. Songs that fans once saw as pure art are now being analyzed in a legal context. Music videos that once seemed normal are now being examined as possible proof of reward and fulfillment of a promise. The government's argument is that it does not matter that the target survived. What matters is whether the agreement was carried out and whether compensation was given. According to prosecutors, once the reward was delivered, the deal was completed in the eyes of the law. This is why legal experts say this case could have massive consequences, not just for those involved, but for how similar cases are handled in the future. Another frightening aspect of this case is how much of the evidence comes from everyday technology. Investigators did not rely only on informants or rumors. Much of the case allegedly comes from phones, cloud backups, bank systems, airline records, and hotel databases. Things people use every single day without thinking twice. The message from the feds is clear in today's world. It is nearly impossible to move in complete silence. As the case continues to develop, Durk maintains his innocence, and like anyone else.
All right, here we go. Today we have Lil Tim, who's most known for protecting his friend Quando Rondo with deadly force when Quando was attacked unprovoked by King Von in Atlanta in 2020. When we first spoke a couple years ago, Tim was still being charged for the shooting, so I waited until all the charges were dropped before reaching out for an interview.
He is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. But what cannot be ignored is the scale of the evidence prosecutors say they have collected. This is no longer just internet speculation or social media talk. This is a federal case with serious charges and potentially life-changing consequences. If even a portion of these allegations are proven true, this case could change how the music industry views loyalty, rewards, and responsibility. It could also serve as a warning about how closely fame, money, and real-world actions are now monitored. When entertainment crosses into real-life violence, the consequences are no longer just headlines. They are permanent and they affect everyone involved. This story is not really about music. It is not about fame, money, or hit records. At its core, this story is about loss, pain, and one question that has shaken the hip-hop world to its foundation. The question is simple, but the answer could change everything. Can prosecutors prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Lil Durk planned and financed $1 million murder for hire? That single question now sits at the center of a case that has already destroyed lives, careers, and families, no matter what the final verdict turns out to be. From the very beginning, this case has felt heavy. Heavy with emotions, heavy with consequences, and heavy with the reality that some damage can never be undone. King Von is gone forever. Lil Pab is gone forever.
So I'm a piggyback off this, bro. At the end of the day,
King Von, that was my brother, bro. Like King Von, like he was like a brother. He was the realest person I had in the industry, like as far industry wise. When he used to be on house arrest and I used to hit him, bro, I was coming to him. Like when I used to get to Atlanta, yo, I need some pipes, I need some sticks out here, whatever. I'm coming to him, to his house, I'm pulling up.
This was
Their families will never be the same, and millions of fans are left watching a tragedy unfold in real time, wondering how a movement built on survival ended up here. To truly understand this case, you have to look beyond court documents and headlines. You have to understand the relationship between Lil Durk and King Von. They were not just collaborators in music, they were brothers in real life. They came from the same streets, faced the
So I kind of happy.
You were happy you got killed.
Can I say I was kind of happy? No, no, seriously, I was though. It was f***ed up. That, you know what I'm saying? Unfortunately, he did. But I was happy as hell when I found out Von was dead.
He even went
same dangers and carried the same pain long before success ever.
You know what I'm saying? That's my favorite op shorty. Like, I'm my dear. I'm late
King
night.
Von was your favorite op?
Hell yeah.
Okay.
Late night, we high as hell on the phone tweaking with each other. He up for stupid rolls on me. I'm broke in the trenches up in big ass poles on him.
the streets.
Entered the picture. Their bond was built on loyalty, shared trauma, and a deep understanding of where they came from. King Von was not just another rapper rising through the industry. He was a storyteller who brought the realities of Chicago drill rap to life in a way that felt painfully real. His music connected because it sounded like truth. But that same lifestyle followed him everywhere, even after fame, even after.
What was Lil Pop like?
Pop is like a person, his mom only child, who gonna try to take care of the family, a hustler, a money getting tight, independent, don't like depending on nobody type of person. He's that type.
Were you guys pretty close?
Yeah, we was close. He was close, my boy.
Yeah. I'm sorry for your loss, man.
It's all good, man.
The reckoning.
After money, even after the spotlight. On November 6, 2020, everything changed forever. What started as an argument in Atlanta quickly spiraled out of control. Shots were fired, chaos erupted, and within moments, King Von lost his life. The legal system later ruled the shooting as self-defense, and officially, the case was closed. But in the streets, there was no closure. For those closest to Von, the pain didn't disappear just because a court made a ruling. When someone you love is taken from you, especially violently, logic often loses to emotion. Grief turns into anger. Anger turns into obsession. And obsession can push people to places they never imagined going. This is where prosecutors believe the story takes its darkest turn. According to the government, Lil Durk did not accept the court's ruling. Instead, they claim he chose a different path. A path fueled by revenge.
Well, not everybody. He just rapped in a new song. He said Drake turned him down. That probably hurt his feelings. Clearly hurt his feelings. He rapped about it. Are you calling around to the industry saying, yo, if y'all f with Young Boy, we're done? And I'm gonna ask you that especially because there's another situation.
You f with anybody that harm my people, I can't f with you. I'm not into it with you.
A path that allegedly involved placing a massive bounty on another life. Prosecutors argue that this was not a spontaneous decision, but a calculated plan meant to settle a score once and for all. But here is where the case becomes complicated. The evidence is largely circumstantial. There are no public recordings of a bounty being offered. No wiretaps have been released. No direct messages or audio clips have been shown to the public proving that Lil Durk personally ordered a hit. Instead, much of the case relies on testimony from cooperating witnesses and informants. These witnesses, according to the defense, have everything to gain by pointing fingers. Reduced sentences, lighter charges, a chance at freedom, and that raises serious questions about credibility. Can the words of informants be trusted when their own futures depend on cooperation? That is exactly what the defense plans to challenge aggressively in court. Still, prosecutors believe the pattern of behavior, the timing, the relationships, and the alleged financial trail paint a clear picture. They argue that while there may not be a smoking gun, the pieces come together to tell a story of planning, intent, and execution. A story where music success could not outweigh street loyalty and unresolved grief. No matter which side you believe, one thing is undeniable. The consequences are already devastating. King Von's voice has been silenced forever. Lil Pab's life was cut short. Families on both sides are left grieving, searching for answers that may never bring peace. And Lil Durk, one of the most influential voices in modern drill rap, now faces the possibility of losing everything he worked for. For fans, this situation feels especially painful. Many watched Lil Durk evolve from a street rapper into a global artist. They saw growth, maturity, and success. To imagine that it could all unravel over a cycle of revenge is heartbreaking. It forces uncomfortable conversations about the cost of street loyalty and the inability to escape the past, even with fame and fortune. This case also highlights a larger issue within hip-hop culture. The line between art and reality is often dangerously thin. When real life bleeds into music and music reinforces real life, escaping that cycle becomes nearly impossible. The streets remember everything, and sometimes they demand a response regardless of the consequences. As this trial moves forward, every word spoken in court will matter. Every witness will be examined. Every detail will be picked apart. And the jury will be asked to decide not just what happened, but whether the evidence meets the highest legal standard there is, beyond a reasonable doubt. But even if Lil Durk is found not guilty, the scars remain. Careers have been stalled. Reputations have been questioned. And the trust...
I was the one really in bro ear, like, know what I'm saying? I don't want to be this person in your ear to be like, know what I'm saying? Let this chill, like, don't move on it. But bro, I'm gonna be that person to let you know, bro, like, this cycle we in as black men is a never ending cycle. Cause at the end of the day, bro, we one person, we got one conscious mind.
He continues.
Between fans and artists has been shaken. If he is found guilty,
I'm gonna tell you this, and Lil Durk is my witness, cause he my brother too. When after that happened with Vaughn and all that shit was happening, bro, I was the one really in bro ear, like, know what I'm saying?
Outcome will echo through hip-hop history as a cautionary tale of how fast everything can disappear. At the end of the day, this is not just a legal case. It is a human tragedy. It is about young men who never got the chance to grow old. It is about families who will forever live with empty seats at the table. And it is about a culture still struggling to break free from cycles of violence that claim its brightest stars. The streets are watching. The federal government is watching. And the entire world is watching. What happens next will not only decide one man's fate, but it will shape how this era of hip-hop is remembered forever. Thank you for watching. If you found this video insightful, click on one of the videos on your screen to explore more stories like this.